Hi, I'm Robin Boyd. I'm the Administrative Supervisor over our Records Department. Once an officer submits a report, it submits it and then it goes to his supervisor. And then they review it for accuracy as well. And then either they deny it back to the officer for corrections or they approve it. That's when it comes into records, as far as into MFR as well. Then we start looking for our data elements that the state and FBI require, and also the DMV for crash reports. Then once we approve the reports, or if we see errors, we deny it back to the officers for the corrections. But once that occurs, the report, once it's approved, it goes into mobile name candidating. We have to make sure we don't get duplicate names in RMS and that we're combining involvements correctly with individuals. It goes into name candidating, then it goes into a last process of daily record review. Then it becomes a permanent record. It's archived into our RMS system. And our RMS system, it houses all the names, involvements, offender information, property information. Also, when an officer does a request on his MDT, it'll actually submit that information to him as well. So he gets to see what's in our RMS. So it's imperative that we have accurate information so our officers are getting the correct information. We still have records that date back into the 50s. These are identification records where people were arrested. And it's got their mug shots, their dispositions. They are so cool to go through. But I still get calls requesting these from like the FBI. So it's really interesting to go through and see how the records were taken back in the 40s, 50s. It's amazing to go through. But yeah, these records were in CSI for a long time, and we just put them into records a couple years ago. So it's been very interesting to go through the history and how the reporting has changed through the years. To our left is our record cabinets. This is where we house the hard copies of our old reports. Of course, as you can see, we've got them designated and locked down. We've got restricted juvenile files, homicides, and records by years. We still have to maintain paper copies, believe it or not. And so these all are electronic. They all move electronically. But all supporting documentation that comes through, such as witness statements, DWI supporting paperwork, officers' notes, handwritten notes, all go into the case files and are stored back here in records. Homicides, indefinitely. Felonies, once we have a disposition. When I say disposition, of course, that's when it's cleared the courts, they've done their jail time. It could be 20 to 30 years, depending on the type of case. Misdemeanors, that varies again. If the case is solved, it goes by the disposition date of just, I think it's 3 years. Again, it depends on the type of misdemeanor as well. Juveniles, of course, that age got moved up. Certain type of juvenile files only till they're 18. Depending on the crime, it could be up to 21. So that varies as well. And again, it depends on the disposition dates of the cases. Oh, it has made it so much more efficient. I started with the police department in 2012. I've been with the city since 2008. I came here as the front desk supervisor. Then in 2013, we all shifted around. I came into records. But during that time frame, our reportings have changed as far as how we used to do a summary-based reporting to the state. Now we do a national incident base, which now we account for all offenses, all of our victims, offender information. The technology has improved where our crash reports, I remember we used to have to print everyone out and mail them all to the DMV. Now we electronically send them constantly all day long as they're being processed in records. At one time, or with our technology, we were also printing out all incident reports, sending to CID for investigations. Now we have a dashboard that we just send everything through automatically. And so now we don't have to keep all the papers that we have, like e-citations. They're electronically sent into our applications now, so we don't have to keep copies of that because we scan it. So that's one less piece of paper.
Our cadet program is an essential tool that we use to recruit people that are 18 to 25 years old. It's like a part-time job here at the police department. It gives the cadets some experience working hands-on with different departments within our divisions. And this is Cadet Mills, and he'll tell you a little bit about what he does.
As a cadet, we usually assist with the day-to-day operations of the front desk at the police department. We help citizens, and we help the support staff get their jobs done.
We currently have 6 cadets. We have 1 vacancy, so if you're interested, please go on our website and apply. Our chief, which most people is aware of, he was a cadet 28 years ago, and now he's the chief. So please go and apply. It's a great program. The city also, as a benefit, it's a flexible schedule where if you're in school, we can work around your school schedule. And the city does pay $1,000, up to $1,000 for reimbursement of tuition, and now they are paying some holiday pay, so that's a good benefit also.
Yep. And the cadet program is a great way to get your foot into the law enforcement field and get some experience in the day-to-day operations.
This is the NCIC unit. The NCIC unit is comprised of 6 non-sworn members of the agency. We're all certified by the State Bureau of Investigation. Our main principal focus here is that we monitor these 2 workstations here. They are our NCIC terminals. The NCIC terminals, they have to be manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. What NCIC is it's a criminal justice database that's maintained by the FBI, and it is a central communication tool that links law enforcement agencies across the country to communicate with each other. Things like wanted people, missing people, stolen items, all those sort of things. That's how we kind of communicate with each other. So if someone were to commit a crime here in Wilmington and then they would flee to another area, maybe even another state, South Carolina or bordering jurisdiction, if those officers were to locate that individual, it's through this means that we communicate with each other, and that's how we arrange to solve crimes across different states, different jurisdictions, things like that. It's also, like I said, how we locate missing people, wanted people, items like that. That's why these, oftentimes we'll get a notification from another police department and we have to respond within several minutes, because we'll have officers that may be out on the side of the road with an individual and they want to know whether he's wanted or whether they've been reported missing or whether there's stolen items in the car. And we have to refer to a lot of files that we maintain here at the desk that keep track of whether those items are in fact actually missing, stolen, things like that from our agency, and we confirm those hits. And that's why, like I said, that's the main focus of what we do here on the NCIC terminal. We also man a radio channel for our own agency, so the officers that are here in Wilmington can check in with us when they're trying to confirm the status of items that are out on the street they come across that might be stolen, or people that might be reported as missing or wanted, things like that. So we maintain some radio communication with our officers and computer communication with other jurisdictions across the state and across the nation. Well, the biggest thing that NCIC requires is unique numbers, and that usually is going to come in the form of a serial number. Most items require a serial number as a minimum for us to be able to enter it in the computer and track it. And sometimes you can get what they call owner applied numbers, where they can engrave their own items with things like their driver's license number and things of that nature. But generally speaking, to keep track of your manufacturer serial numbers, things like that, can ensure better odds of a property return if it is recovered or encountered by the police. So in addition to monitoring the NCIC terminals for ongoing communication with law enforcement, both in the field and in other jurisdictions, some of the other responsibilities that we do here kind of in the downtime that we have when the terminal's not keeping us busy is that we have older records that we need to validate. What we'll do is anybody that has reported items stolen to the police in the past, usually things like firearms, bicycles, driver's license, things like that, things that have a serial number, tools that we know have been stolen, we will go and we will validate those records, and we will call the victims of those crimes, sometimes many, many years afterwards, especially when you think about things like firearms, and we'll continually call and check on the status to make sure those records are still valid, that item is still in fact stolen. That's why it's important, if you actually do report something to the police that is going to go into their NCIC system as a serial number is stolen, if something changes about your information, it's important that we're able to contact you. That way we can make arrangements for getting your property back. So many times, time goes by and we'll have the property listed to a victim, but it's difficult to get a hold of that victim to validate the record. So that's something we do in our downtime. And one other thing we maintain watch over is a lot of the vehicles that are towed within the city limits. Oftentimes when vehicles are towed from private property, like a trespass towing, because they're parked somewhere they shouldn't be or in violation of a rule at a different location, those vehicles are reported in by the companies that tow them. They're reported to the police. That way they're not inadvertently reported as actually been stolen and have to go into the NCIC system. So we maintain watch over some of the vehicles that have been towed that are not stolen. They've just been lawfully towed from a location. And we maintain about over 2,000 vehicles a year come into us that way. And we maintain them in a database just to keep sure that our officers are not inadvertently taking reports for stolen autos that were in fact towed. So those are two of the additional things that we do when the terminal's not keeping us busy with the criminal justice information that's coming through the terminal.
Hi, if you're interested in joining us behind the badge, please go to our website at wilmingtonnc.gov and go to the Jobs tab. I hope you've enjoyed this episode for this week, and we look forward to you looking at future episodes. Thank you.